Greetings and welcome on this midweek Wednesday, and it's quite a day. Every day, it seems, is quite a day. This is, ideas, influence, impact, and income. Those are the four big I's that you'll need to know if you're going to make your mark in the world today as a creator entrepreneur. And we've been busy helping people do just that. First of all, in terms of the podcasting, our What It Takes radio division, which is designed to help you do just exactly what we are doing right now, and that's to reach out worldwide with some entertainment, some information, some engagement, something that may make you smile, but it will be helpful to you because in the midst of all that, there'll be something that can really help you. It'll be practical and useful, and it might even make life better for you. And as someone said, you just never know what could be a life-changing experience. And they usually happen when you're not expecting them. So we're pressing on. If it's important, it needs to be heard. And so this program is coming to you so that you can hear it. I'm Stan Husa. The program begins right now. And thank you so much. Again, mittens. Now, it truly is amazing what happened with that incredible picture of Bernie Sanders, obviously not necessarily too happy to be at the inauguration in the cold, sitting there with a little bit of grump on him and with his wonderful handmade mittens. And that meme has literally gone viral around the world. And whether you like Bernie Sanders or not, that's not the issue. It was funny. It made us smile. And what happened to me is I was putting together the programs, some of them quite serious. For instance, one of the reasons I'm here today is yesterday when I was going to do a program, I was expecting to spend about an hour and a half with my wife as she went to have some removed from her face. Well, it turned out that it was cancerous. And so we had a long, long day as that minor surgery turned into something fairly significant in trying to help her. And because it was located not only on her face but around her jaw, it's a long story. She can't open her mouth or smile or really eat in a normal way for up to 3 weeks. So I'm doing what I love to do, even though it takes time away from people like you. I'm going to be a caregiver for a while, and that's just fine. That's what we're made for. We're made as partners. Yes. When God said, a man needs a woman and a woman needs a man. And if you can't have that, life gets harder. And so we're grateful at this time. We're still both relatively healthy. But when we have these episodes of ill health, we can partner with one another. And that also leads me to know that when I know about a widow or maybe an orphan or a widower, it's my job as a Christian creator entrepreneur to reach out and try and help those people who've lost their partners. Well, I had all of that important stuff, but then relative to just what is wonderful about podcasting, an article came across that was written right in the midst of this week about Bernie and his mittens. And it turned out to be a very touching story. The man's name is John Pletcher, and so in the Institute for Faith, Work, and Economics, which is kind of a sister organization in some ways to our Institute for the study and the teaching and the promotion of Christian entrepreneurship, a kind of a sister institute. John writes for them, and this came out today, and it says, how mittens can help us understand grief. How mittens can help us understand grief. And with full credit, because this is so wonderful, I'm just going to read it, perform it, and perhaps it'll touch you as it touched me. Here it goes. How Mittens Can Help Us Understand Grief. John Pletcher. In recent days, humorous memes of Senator Bernie Sanders and his mittens have brought us extra laughter on social media. And we all need a little mirth amidst so much grief, anxiety, and unrest that we've experienced through 2020 and so far in 2021. Levity and cheerfulness can indeed be therapeutic. Wisdom reminds us that a cheerful heart is good medicine. That's from Proverbs 17:22. It's powerful to consider how joyous laughter and reflective stories can work wonders. In fact, this social media trend reminded me of a tender story that my mother, Holly Hall Pletcher, shared in the book we co-authored, and it is called Emota Conversations. That's Emota Conversations. Obviously, that's a word he made up. Working through our deepest place. A small pair of black wool mittens. They were obviously intended for a young child's tiny hands. The mittens, held together by a knit cord, amaze me. The stitches are so precise. The work looks perfect. My grandmother knit the mittens when she was just 12 years old. Now they are lovingly placed on our family Christmas tree each year. The tradition of using them as a tree decoration goes back as far as I can remember. There are many ornaments on our tree that have stories attached, but the mittens are my favorite. He continues, my grandmother Lillian was born in 1885, the oldest of 5 surviving children. She grew up in Bad Axe, Michigan. Her father was a burly German lumberjack, a good, hard-working man who spoke very little English. Her mother was a frail, petite woman from a proud English family in New York. And they could even trace their roots to the early Puritan colonists of Massachusetts Bay Colony. These were still rugged days for a family living in the thumb of the Michigan lumber region. And now Lillian's dear mother was dying of pneumonia. Her grandmother and spinster aunt would eventually come from Buffalo, New York to help with the children. However, until they arrived, Lillian would shoulder the responsibility for her siblings. And remember, she was just 12 years old. As part of her intentional care, she knit mittens and socks for the children. In those days, knitting was not just a pleasant hobby, it was a necessity. All members of a family must be kept warm in warm wool socks, hats, and mittens to ward off the frigid Michigan winters, for sure. The story continues. I've often pondered what thoughts must have been going through my grandmother's young mind as she knit. How much love and sorrow must have filled her heart as she grieved over her mother. To encounter so much grief at such an early age without many others around to help seems almost beyond my imagination today. The profound experience of deep sorrow at such an early age must have provided early preparation for the endurance she would need many years later in facing the death of her own toddler son. She and my grandfather served as missionaries in the remote jungle in Africa. One day their child died quite suddenly in my grandmother's arms. Thousands of miles from home, they had to face the death of their oh-so-loved firstborn without the solace of family or friends. Nevertheless, they faced that dark storm courageously and continued on with their work, wholeheartedly serving the Lord. I inherited the small black pair of mittens the first Christmas after my own mother went home to be with the Lord. As I placed them on my Christmas tree, the family story accompanied the mittens, and it came to mind and was strangely comforting to me. That year, I decided that I would learn to knit. I would knit my tears and sorrow away just as Lillian must have done so many years ago. I thought of the many stories told by my mother over the years. My soul is rich with so many fond, loving memories of my parents and of family members that I never had the honor of meeting face to face. It is as if I knew each one of them, in spite of the fact that we never physically met, and I have loved them all. As I reflect on this family history, I believe there are 3 takeaways from the story which we can all consider. Number 1, don't shy away from grieving with others. We are all walking through the unimaginable right now. We grieve with our families, co-workers, fellow churchgoers, and neighbors. For many of us, we are tempted to play it tough and try to stay cool and calm and collected. And as my friend Kristen Brown urges us, don't feel ashamed to show your grief. It is really okay to unravel, to let others know when you're really hurting. Number 2, find your own mittens to knit. While actual knitting is not for everyone, we can all find something that proves extra creative, productive, and therapeutic. Perhaps it's restoring a piece of antique furniture or working puzzles. Maybe your own knitting is writing a novel or building a new virtual network with the aim of stronger client friendships. Whatever your mittens, go ahead and get knitting. Go there with great gusto. I'm really deeply moved by this. Now, something that I truly love. Tell more stories. Do stories. Shared over multiple generations, morph in color and emotional texture over time. Of course they do. However, these slight variations and enhancements do not lessen the value of sharing an oral tradition. Numerous generations of families have valued oral tradition and kept family history alive by verbally sharing. While committing these tales to the written and perhaps digital page is certainly important, so is the spoken story that embeds in the hearts and minds of our children, friends, and co-workers. Now, a little self-promotion aside. One of the things I'm saying is do a podcast, 3, 5, 7 episodes, and even if nobody in the audience that you want even listens to it, the fact that you spoke it, and you performed it, and you grieved and emoted as you shared it, it's now heard, and it can reach and touch generations. I helped a man who had written a book, and he wrote a book about his life and his business and family. However, most of the people weren't interested that he wanted to. Some did. And what happened was, I said, well, let me do the audio version. And what happened is they listened to it, even though they wouldn't read it. As his wife even said, Stan turned your book into your story. Just let that sit on your head for a while. Now, back to John Pletcher. He's a pastor at Manor Church in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And here's how he concluded. Such great stories can quickly be recalled by memory in order to comfort, instruct, build character, and even amuse us around the dinner table. They can also give each of us a wonderful sense of love, confidence, and genuine belonging. These qualities prove essential in journeying through grief and discovering a joy that runs much deeper than the laughs we've all had over Bernie's mittens on social media. Thank you, John, for sharing that wonderful story. As I say, if it's good stuff, it'll stir my mind, it'll move my spirit, and it'll touch my heart. And I was touched by your story of the stories. I'm Stan Houston, and this is Ideas, Influence, Impact, and Income. We'll be right back. Thank you so very much. I'm going to talk about cancer on the face tomorrow. The story of my wife that we're now going through. What do you do when you face cancer on the face? And the story is already developing, but we've already learned a great deal. And perhaps we would appreciate your thoughts, your counsel, maybe your help, and your prayers as we deal with that. Remember, we have to grieve, and we have to grieve together. And oftentimes it is in the grieving that the joy truly comes. That's just kind of how God does things. God is a lot like the old character who used to say, surprise, surprise, surprise. In fact, that's the business God is in. So, I'd like to help you. You need to do some podcasting. You need to do some help with the building your business. Everything is going to change. Everything is going to be different. And I've had over a half century of broadcasting, many years as a business performance coach and teacher. And I know that in some way I can help you, your enterprise, your congregation, and your ministry as we seek to work together to use the media, to use the message and methods of God, and in some ways to build organizations and communities that will make a difference. Right now, that is the primary need. The vaccine will save many, but what will really save us and get us through this is when people come together to share and care for one another until we get through this, and then have a sense of normalcy until the next crisis that will come. But by God's grace, the firm foundation is, I will be with you. And we'd like to be with you too. I'm Stan the spokesman, and we look forward to times with you, and look forward to our new video series program Monday through Friday, starting sometime in the first week of February, which we simply call On the Edge, because that's where we have to live right now. Best and blessings. Take care. Stay safe. But there are no safe places except one place, and be there. Bye for now.